Hey everyone, I'm going to do a book review on Far Beyond All Light, The Life, Death, and Legacy of Jon Nodtveidt and Dissection. So, I think it was a few months ago, back in November, I got this book. I did a unboxing on it. And I have to say, it is a good book, but my complaint about it, honestly, is it lacked kind of a lot of in-depth. Like, I feel like it should have been longer. But I also felt like the author was shielding Jan's legacy big time. Especially when it came to, like, his involvement with the MLO, the Misanthropic Luciferian Order. And maybe some unsavory things that he may have done in his life. I felt like it was being... I kind of wonder if he was under a lot of pressure from members of the MLO to not share a whole lot. Because I was really hoping that there would be a lot of detail about the anti-cosmic path and all that. But like a lot of the rituals and stuff that he briefly goes through, he tends to dumb it down a little bit. Like, it's almost like he's kind of censoring it, in a sense. Especially, like, since they were known for sacrificing cats and, a few other activities. So, I don't know if it was to kind of like protect the organization or protect his legacy. But it's worth noting that this is a fan that wrote this book, and whenever you have fans writing books about musicians, there is going to be a bias. So if you do get this book, I know a second edition is being released. It's going to have everything in it that the first edition has. It will become available soon, I believe, according to the author. I will leave a link to his Facebook page. But because this book was so successful and sold out almost immediately, he is definitely releasing a second edition. There's not going to be anything added to it. It's just going to be the same book, basically. So, if you guys didn't get a chance to grab this, you might want to spring for it. If you're fans of this band, this genre. And really what the genre is anti-cosmic metal of death is technically what he calls it. It is not black metal. I just want to get that out of the way. Dissection is a death metal band. Now, a lot of people credit Jon Nodtveidt for coming out with another genre that kind of merged into the black metal scene, known as melodic black metal. Dissection's really probably the first band to kind of go into that sound a little bit. But it's worth noting that this is not a black metal band. This is a death metal band. Now, he was involved in black metal. This was a band that he briefly did called The Black. It was originally called the Black Flame, I believe. And it was shortened to the Black. This is most definitely black metal. He's known as Riotous on this album. There he is right there. As you can see, he's wearing corpse paint. The sound is very different from the usual Dissection. It's definitely more lo-fi. It's a pretty good band. And it actually came out before the, or it was recorded before the first Dissection album, I believe. But it came out after the first Dissection album, if I recall. Which, by the way, it turns out Jon Nodtveidt did not like this album cover. I'm actually wearing a shirt of this album cover right now. You guys could see that. So, the reason why he didn't like it was because it was very similar to Abigail, which was a notorious metal album by King Diamond of Merciful Fate. So the concept was pretty much the same, and the artist actually admitted to being influenced by Abigail. So, however, because he was so late in submitting the artwork, Dissection was not able to change the album cover, so they kind of had to just deal with it. But I would say this is definitely a good companion to this book. I would definitely for sure pick this one up as well. There's a lot of great information about Jon Nodtveidt in this. As well as his dealings with close colleagues such as It from Abruptum, which he also was involved with. You know what? Let me see if I could find that album that he did with It. Yeah, I don't know where it is. But he was involved in let's see if I can get the name of it. I tried to grab all my Jon Nodtveidt music before I did this video here. Yeah, he did stuff for the band Niflheim also. So he had all kinds of side projects. But yeah. He was also known as Shadow. So, but yeah, he had all kinds of different bands going on. So he did in 1994 A Journey in Darkness with Ophthalmia. Ophthalmia. Yeah. It's kind of a weird band name, but anyway, he did that with It of Abruptum. So he did quite a few different music projects. He also briefly touches on this album as well, which I really like. This is a electronic album that he did before he was arrested. This is a pretty good album. It is not metal at all, however, so unless you like electronic music, I really cannot recommend it. I love industrial and electronic music, so I absolutely love it. It's great. So, but anyway, so it's kind of, my other issue with this book is it's all over the place chronologically. It starts off kind of with his, he offed himself, that fateful night. So it starts off with like kind of the last days of him, and then kind of in the middle, it goes into, it's kind of ass backwards, really. Will you stop it, Jerry? Will you stop it? Disruptive. So it goes into his prison sentence, his prison years, and then it goes into his childhood and into his life. And I'm just like, I don't know why he decided to write it like this, the author. It was just kind of weird because I was hoping that it would kind of follow it more chronologically. So the organization of the book really didn't sit well with me. But it does have some good information. So he was born June 28th, 1975. And this is pretty much like the sum of his life that we get here. Most of this book really is just kind of going into I mean, it is interesting hearing about his prison years. I think there are some contrary things that are in here with Werewolf Legion and all that. So, like, Werewolf Legion was supposedly not with a bunch of immigrants. It was... Werewolf Legion's kind of a... they were involved in drug cartels, I believe, and things like that. I know they did a lot of illegal stuff, Werewolf Legion. Contrary to popular belief, as the left, likes to villainize Jon Nodtveidt to death, Werewolf Legion, they are not connected to any white supremacist group. They are actually, a lot of them are Brazilian. And it was around the time when he was in prison that he started getting involved in Kimbanda. So he does talk a little bit about Kambanda in the interview in this book. And so it was a gang that was made up of immigrants, mostly Brazilians, that came to Sweden, and they were involved in illegal stuff. And so it became kind of a secular offshoot of the MLO in a way. Like they were separate, but they were still connected. They just were not religious. They were not a religious chapter of the organization. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. But he goes on in here to say that they were not immigrants. However, I have come across other sources that have said otherwise. So I just think that's kind of incorrect a little bit. Again, I feel like the author was kind of shielding a lot of stuff that was going on with Jan's life. Either pressure from Vlad, possibly, and other members of the MLO, or just being a fan, basically, and just trying to kind of, you know, keep a lot of the controversy down. So, but I didn't want to have to touch on the murder too much, about like the reason why he was in prison, but so he did kill a Albanian national one night with Vlad. They were out drinking and having a good time, and this guy kept pestering them, and whatever. I mean, he did the time. You know, I'm really not going to go into it that much. But unfortunately, people have used that as a legitimate excuse to make up all kinds of bullshit about him. Particularly the left, where, you know, if you go on Reddit, I mean, you'll see things like, oh, you know, Jan was involved in Nazism, and, you know, this and that, and the MLO, or, you know, part of the Order of Nine Angles and all that, and that's not true. That is absolutely not true. However, I will say this, Jon Nodtveidt did, prior to his arrest, he did write a letter stating that he believed that the Order of Nine Angles was an ally of the MLO. This is something, of course, he doesn't write about, but there is information out there that he did know, he did study the Order of Nine Angles and all that, but they were not a part of the Order of Nine Angles. That is a common misconception, because the Dissection song, Nexion 218, Nexion is a thing that, it is a saying that is used by the Order of Nine Angles. However, this was not invented by the Order of Nine Angles. Nexion basically just means portal, gateway, you know. It does not mean that it is a chapter of the Order of Nine Angles. People need to do their research before villainizing somebody. The bottom line is, okay, just because you shoot a homosexual in a park does not make you a Nazi. It just doesn't. And, you know, any left-winger that goes on Reddit and blasts their fucking mouth about this, you know, It's just BS, really. So he said that he's had nothing to do with Nazism. He feels, that it's... You know what? I'm just going to read the quote. I'm just going to find the quote in here. Let's just settle this once and for all. I mean, the author did a good job examining the all of the songs, taking apart the songs on Rain Chaos album. He did a pretty good job with that. I will say this, there are some typo errors too, particularly in the interviews. He talks about distancing himself from the black metal scene because a lot of the supposed Satanists were actually fake Satanists, which a lot of the American ones are, for example. The Church of Satan, Satanic Temple. He was a good friend of Euronymous also. This book actually talks about that more, though. This one right here. So I'm surprised he didn't. I was kind of mad that he didn't include that interview that Jon did when Euronymous died. This journalist asked him, like, isn't it double standard that you feel bad for Euronymous? And Jon was pretty pissed off in the interview. He said to say that somebody doesn't have close friends or relatives that they care about is pathetic. He was pretty pissed off in that interview. Yeah, it just didn't seem to go into that. Okay, so here he says, okay. The only way I'm a racist is that I oppose the human race. All people are equally worthless. No skin colors are better or worse than others. In my opinion, one has got to be either blatantly ignorant or excessively stupid, or perhaps both, to state such a thing about being Nazis. But again, people in general seem to have great difficulties in such easy things, like, for example, to discern the obvious difference between misanthropy and racist ideologies. Just belonging to a certain nationality will never make you superhuman. Simple racism or nationalism is nothing but just another herd mentality for feeble-minded humans to, without logical reason, make themselves feel superior to each other in all confusion without having to make any efforts at all, but just being easily guided, apathetic flocks of cattle that they are. So basically that's how he feels about it, and yet the left still to this day believes he's a Nazi just because he killed a homosexual in the park. Right, critical thinking, everybody. So, and yes, I will probably never be able to monetize this video because I'm discussing this stuff. But anyway, so one of the interesting things is he wrote Mahakali before he was even arrested. That's actually an early song that he wrote that's on this album. And he wrote it after reading this book. This book is a book that everybody on the left-hand path needs to own. I will be doing a book review on this pretty soon. But I know his altar in his apartment was adorned with an image of Kali. So, and I decided to bring these because these are MLO books. They're offered by Vlad. He goes by the alias NAA218. As many of you know, I have done some videos about these books, so I'm not really going to go into them in depth, but I just thought I would share that because those books are connected. So, so there are some interesting anecdotes about, like, you know, some of his personal life, what he was reading. This is what he says about Kumbanda here. I read a lot about Ishu, Pomajira, Voodoo, invocations, and Kumbanda itself. And I found it all very fascinating. I love the dark side of this philosophy and identified with it strongly. I come from outside the tradition as I'm Swedish. But somehow I was drawn into this current, and some things really made me reconsider my ideas about the world. I saw that this tradition is alive and thriving. I began working with these subjects from a non-traditional perspective. What matters is the essence and meaning beyond names and symbols. It's one of many traditions that clearly embodies a dark essence. Kumbanda is very effective. It was a great revelation for me. Many things had to happen before I opened my eyes to this reality, and I realized it can also be extremely dangerous. Yep. There is some live footage of him seen with a guy around his neck, which is, you know, beads, like what I wear. Usually red and black beads. Because he had connections with Brazilian people, so he was engaging in this stuff. So he devotes a good chapter here on prison years. And I want to show you guys what his prison cell looked like. Because compared to the United States, it looks like a little apartment. Our prisons are primitive by comparison. There he is in prison. Prisons are like little gulags. Look at that. That's what a prison looks like in Sweden, everybody. I mean, it's nice. It's like a little apartment. It's really nice. So. But yeah, he didn't finish high school because he was expelled for acknowledging that he was a Satanist and speaking about it. So he had to deal with religious discrimination. Unfortunately. Because it was, I mean, this was obviously a satanic panic that was going on. It kind of started in North America, it started in Canada, and then, you know, of course, it really picked up in the United States, and it ended up eventually over there as well. But yeah, I highly recommend, like, if you do get this book, that you also get this too. So, yeah, in closing, I think it's a good book. It's well made. It's definitely pretty nice. The binding's good. I wouldn't expect anybody that's not a fan of dissection to really get much out of this, honestly. I think you kind of have to understand the genre of the music and kind of understand, you know, a little bit of backstory about Jon Nodtveidt. So, but there is a interview that really reminds me of myself. Because, I mean, he and I obviously have some similarities. If someone treats me as a human being, they obviously have themselves to blame. If so, they've misunderstood everything despite all the signs. Just open your eyes. I'm here, and one day I will manage to escape. That's all I want. People shouldn't misread the situation and expect a Satanist to follow laws created by humans. If I'm not killed by someone else, then I will, of course, commit suicide. I have no plans of going on living until I expire of old age. Ever since I was 15 or 16 years old, I've planned to take my own life. The last 2 years have been the happiest of my life. That was like the very last interview that he did. Just about, yeah, July 2006. Yeah. And they, of course, found his lifeless body within a circle of candles that were lit. Gunshot wound to his head. Yeah. It's believed that he had the book Liber Azerati with him. So, yeah, August 16th, 2006. Yep. That's when he, So, so the reason why that appeals to me so much is because when I was, from a very young age, I also always wanted to not expire by old age, let's just say. Yeah. Not threatening it, but definitely within the future, especially if my health declines, I definitely intend on checking out. So, but yeah, I mean, for now, you know, life's pretty good for the most part. I mean, it is hellish, you know, for a Gnostic to live on this planet, because we understand that this planet is actually hell, pretty much. So, but I'm just going to conclude it with, yeah, it was pretty good book. Just a little disappointed that, you know, he's kind of protected and, you know, I'm not saying he needs to be villainized or anything. He gets enough of that online. I just think that it needs to be a little bit less biased. But I get the feeling that he had to go through Vlad, you know, for permission to even talk about Jon Nodtveidt, honestly. Because Vlad actually owns the rights to all of Dissection stuff now, as far as I know. As well as former band member Set Titan. He also owns the rights to some of Dissection stuff as well. So, yeah. I believe that he had to kind of correspond with those two individuals to write this. So, I think, you know, it is kind of censored a little bit. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed this, please hit like and subscribe. Thank you.